everybody and welcome to Handmade Studio. I'm Cheryl Woodlock. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to cut glass safely and quickly without too many hassles. So if you're a beginner, this one's for you. When we're cutting glass, a lot of people worry about cutting their hands, and I'll show you something that will make your life a little bit easier. When you handle glass, if you run your finger along the sides like that, you will end up cutting your hands because you're actually going to slice along that sharp edge. If I run my finger down, I'm actually not going to cut my hands. So it depends how you hold your glass. Glass won't actually hurt you if you are just very respectful of it. When I'm cutting my glass with my glass nippers, and you do need glass nippers are usually round-edged nippers, okay? So I have a couple of brands here. These ones are from Bunnings, so they are round tile nippers. And this one is a Lippernet. This is my favorite. It's nice and sharp and it has a really good blade, but they're a lot more expensive. So if you're a beginner, you can go to Bunnings and get one of these nippers. And they do the job. So I'm going to show you how well they work. So from Bunnings, when you hold your glass, just hold it within your hands, and remember, don't put your elbow out. Have it nice and restful. And I like having it on the side of my hip. And I just gently rest it there. So it's also resting on the table, and I just snap. And I'll do that again because that was really quick. So I've just got it between my fingers, and I just squeezed. Now, I'm not squeezing slowly, I'm actually snapping. And that's the other thing, you snap. So I'll show it again. So I've got that between my hands and my fingers and snap. If you don't snap and you squeeze slowly, it actually doesn't cut really easy. So the trick is snap, and I'll show you. Snap. All right, it really is very, very simple. If your glass is not cutting, it's probably because the wheels are blunt. You need to rotate them. This particular brand uses a screwdriver to undo the wheel. So when I'm doing it, left is loose, and that just rotates, and then I can rotate the wheel around. And right is tight. So I can just tighten up that wheel. So if your glass is not cutting properly, there could be a couple of reasons why. But usually it's because your glass nippers are blunt. If you've been doing a lot of cutting and you're getting really into it, you need to rotate your wheel nippers. So the other thing you need to make sure is that when you're cutting, you have your tile nipper at right angles. So that tile is actually at right angles to my glass, okay? So that's at right angles there. And when I cut, you can do this. Some people like to cut their hands around and then they catch it in their hand like that. You can do that. So again, at right angles. So make sure it's at right angles. So that's at right angles and snap. All right, remember, don't lift up your shoulders. Just keep it nice and relaxed. Use your hands and that will cut it. Snap, don't squeeze. The next thing you need to know, if you do have your tile at an angle like that, that is now, you can see it's at, do that, there you go. It's at an angle, so it's actually going downwards that way. If it goes downwards, we actually get a curve that's not straight. So that's no longer straight, we're actually getting a curve. And this little piece of glass, you can see, that piece of mirror, actually is sort of like a triangle shape. So we can deliberately do that to get curves on our tiles. And some people use that for feathering, and they get this feathered type look, and that's done deliberately. So how you hold your tile nippers also changes the shape. Now, sometimes you are just not going to get a straight cut with your tile nippers. If you want a perfectly straight cut, you need to get a glass score. You need to score your glass to get a perfect shape. But generally speaking, cutting your tiles will give you a straight cut. Also, the other thing you need to remember is you need your nipper, your tile cutter, almost halfway across your glass. If it's at the edge of the glass there, what's going to happen is that it could go off the track. So when I cut that, it's no longer straight. It's got a little bend to it. So by cutting it more into the center of the tile, I will get the chances of a straighter tile cut. So I'm just going to do some close-ups for you of straight cuts versus feathered cuts, you know, cuts that are a little bit wonky. So for your straight cuts, put your tile nipper, make sure it's halfway, the blade is sitting halfway. Make sure it's also at right angles, that it's not at an angle going down, it's actually at right angles. And then snap. So remember, snap. And I'm going to hold that there. I'm going to hold it like that and snap. It's not exactly straight, but it's not too bad. I'll show you again in the middle. Make sure it's straight and snap. Again, in the middle, straight, snap. If you want to get a more irregular shape, you can then have it more of an angle. So you can cut at an angle. And by cutting at an angle, you start getting a more feathered look. So it's a more subtle look. So remember, it's at the angle, and that will give you your angled pieces. And they're great for feathers or for water or for a more subtle change. Now on some tile nippers, they have this little piece here. That is to help keep your tile straight and at a right angle. It helps to cut that. If you don't like it, you can also get an Allen key and move it out of the way. And I often recommend to get rid of that Allen key, so then you can move the tile closer into the middle of your cut and snap. Because if we have the tile nipper just at the end, the chances of it cutting at an angle become higher. I hope I made that a little bit easier for you today that are just beginning their glass mosaics. Remember, how you handle and hold your glass nippers is going to make a very big difference to the cut. So check that your glass is at right angles to the wheels. Don't get your glass at an angle, otherwise you'll end up getting a curve. And remember, keep your elbow nice and relaxed. Don't tense up, otherwise you'll end up getting quite sore. If you liked what you saw today, could you please hit that like button and remember to subscribe and ring that bell. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.